Hi, hope you're good today. My name's Andy. I'm great, thanks for asking. Just having a sandwich, and I'm in town, as you can see. In a second we will talk about spiritual blockages, and in this very video we will also have a bit of a reading. That's further towards the end. Anyway, let's finish my sandwich. I'll see you in a tick. There's Mr. Bird, or Mrs. Bird, or Miss Bird, getting his or her bit of sandwich there. It's left over. Isn't it crazy? I've driven 16 miles, I think, through beautiful countryside, come out into the kind of grotty, crazy, towny bit with cars and people everywhere, and that's where I get a cute bird shot. Nothing is predictable, is it? But I love blackbirds, something about them. I'm not sure what kind of bird that was. I'm not like a bird expert or anything, but I like the black ones. I think it might have been like I don't think it was a crow, might have been. Don't often see them that close up. Might even have been a raven, in which case it was kind of small for a raven, but there it was, having its bit of sandwich. So, blockages. This is where we're at today. Let's just get on down the road a bit and we'll talk about it. Way to go, beautiful hot day in paradise actually. This isn't the most paradisey bit, but we'll be in the paradise bit any second. So, hang on, let's just adjust that a bit. That's more like it. Let's get round the roundabout and we'll talk about blockages, which are a bit like roundabouts in the road, actually, because they're virtually never permanent, you know. They can be, but it's the same as when you cut the cord with someone, or cut a cord with maybe a situation that no longer serves you. If you accidentally or inadvertently cut the cord that needs to be there, that's doing you some good, and you cut it by accident, it will grow back. And this is the way it is with blockages. Some of them are actually beneficial, because when there's a blockage going on and you just can't get through to someone, or you can't get through to your guides, or the angels don't seem to be there, and they're always there, by the way, but sometimes they don't seem to be there. When that happens, there's always some reason for it, and it usually works in your favour. In fact, I would say it always works in your favour, except to say I don't really know, and I wonder if anyone ever really will really know. got a nice breeze in the car now, so I think I'll shut this window that makes all the noise. I'll open that one that makes less noise because it's on the other side of the car. So, different kinds of blockages. And the first kind to talk about when you just can't get into a meditation, you can't access your spirit guides. That's perhaps the one that bothers people the most, actually. Because we wonder, why would the divine, why would all the spirit guides, why would the angels let us get all tuned into them and then suddenly seem to disappear off the face of the earth, or suddenly the progress just stops? And we're coming back to something I mentioned about 3 or 4 driving videos ago. Just stopped at the red light here. And like a blockage, the red light will turn green soon and we can go. But yeah, as I talked about 2 or maybe 4 videos back that I was driving the car, which is probably a month ago now, there is no time in the spirit realms, you know, and that is what's really something very difficult for us to understand and for us to relate to say the very least, because we are subject to time, and none of us knows how long we've got to live in this world, but we do know that it's finite, it's limited, so we want to get a certain amount done, spiritually speaking. And so it's very frustrating when the progress seems to stop. We think, well, what's blocking us? Why are we blocked? We aren't always blocked in this situation, though. Quite often, actually, we're just waiting for things to start moving again, because the divine and spirit, angels, God, whatever you want to call it, that whole realm works in its own time, which isn't a time as far as those divine influences are concerned, but it's a time as far as we're concerned. So it gets to be a worry, it gets to be a concern. And it makes us feel like we must be failing in some way. I had a bit of an impasse. About 6 months after I found out I was a medium and started doing readings, maybe more than 6 months actually, so I'd seem to have done a lot of readings by that time. And it just dried up. Nobody was asking for readings, nobody wanted a reading, just nothing was happening. Seemed insane, really. I think of the amount of effort that Spirit had put into actually getting hold of me in the first place, because I didn't really know this kind of thing existed. I've been a Christian, but that doesn't teach you a hell of a lot about this, unless you know where to look. So what the hell's going on here? You know, they put so much effort into making it happen. And by then I'd learned that spirit don't really have their own energy. This is why it's good to light a candle, to use crystals, lots of other things I could mention that are good to do when we want spirit to come in around us. Just to let them know we want them to be there. Incense is a good way of letting them know that, actually. And you know, pagan people do embodiment, where they get themselves in a particular condition where they can embody the goddess, or you know, whatever god, whatever deity they actually want to have around them. What, you know, if they need protection or something, they'll call in a protective spirit, and they will try and embody the nature of that spirit so that that spirit feels at home with them. And so, you know, they didn't have their own energy, and yet they'd put all that work into bringing me in, and I wasn't sending energy out because I didn't know there was anything going on. They'd gone to all that effort to bring themselves into my life just using the fact that I sometimes had candles going because I like them. Just love candles. And they got me doing readings, and they'd introduced me to people who taught me, and they'd also introduced me to people who needed readings, and the whole thing was doing really well, and it just stopped like a snap of the fingers, just suddenly stopped. And nothing happened for weeks and weeks. And I thought, why have they kind of come into my life and got me prepared and stood me up and done all this, and then just suddenly cut it off? I never got a clear answer on that, because at the time I felt like my spirit guides had deserted me. I'm sure they hadn't, but I didn't really bother asking them why. I just wondered why. And I asked various people who were kindly teaching me then why this would be, how this could be. And it was explained to me more or less what I'm telling you now, you know. Time is a worldly thing, means nothing in the spirit world. And you will get your work done. They said that to me, and I say it to you, friends. You will get your work done in this lifetime. Not an issue, really not an issue. Just feels like an issue to us. So what if you actually put out a block? There are reasons for doing it. You know, sometimes we all get driven harder than we can really go. And this happens because spirit guides will work you 24/7, and you get no rest. And you'll end up getting ill, obviously, if you know, because in the human condition, we need rest. And they've lived, most of the spirit guides we have lived this earthly life, and they would know that, really, except to say, you know, they have been in the afterlife for a good period of time in our world before they can actually function as spirit guides. There are things that they need to learn, and that can actually happen very quickly in our time, because it's all eternal, no time, what's going on. But generally speaking, it's going to be quite a while in our world between someone passing and them coming back as a spirit guide. And so they've lost touch with what it is to be in the human body, what it is to need food, what it is to need sleep. So all they know is, we want to do this work. We've been meditating, we've been praying, we've been asking for these things to happen. And yeah, and they become like, if you watch BoJack Horseman, and if you don't, do, it's really good. They become like Mr. Peanut Butter in BoJack Horseman, who will just loves everything, because he's a golden retriever with a human voice, and a Hollywood star, or Hollywood star anyway. And they get enthusiastic like that, and you need to talk to spirit guides and express to them that you do need a rest, you know, ask to have a good sleep and wake up feeling refreshed, so you can get on with the work, get on with, you know, the ministry, the mission that you've got in this life. And they will respect that. Sometimes they don't respect it straight away, and you've got to ask your gatekeeper to have a word with them, or get an angel to have a word with them. But, you know, in the end, they will. They'll respect that. But it's on you to ask them, you know. They seem to know us so well. Well, they do know us so well. They do know us so well that it seems to us that they must know that we need sleep. They must see us waking up at 3 a.m. like a wet tea towel, covered in sweat. They must know we need more rest than that. Well, it still amazes me to say it, but they don't all. So you've got to ask. You've got to ask them to stop sometimes. And that is a bit like putting a block up. It's actually very wise, very advisable. And then, of course, you've got to call them back in to start working with you again. And the best way of making that happen really and truly, is to think of the crown chakra as a 1,000-petal lotus flower. I do this with both hands, but I'm driving at the moment, so I need the other hand. And visualize those 1,000 petals, which are the lotus flower of your crown chakra. Visualize them opening when you want to start to do spiritual work. And crucially, visualize them closing when you finish doing that bit of spiritual work. Even if you're going straight on to another reading, close that crown chakra. Close those petals one by one. And then open up again when it's time to start the next one. And hand in hand with that, it's important to do grounding as well. It's important to ground yourself. It's a big part of protection. And grounding yourself isn't like blocking yourself at all, quite the opposite. The better grounded you are, the higher your guides, your angels, will actually let you fly. The further you'll get, because you're safer when you're grounded. That's so important. So you've got to visualize those roots coming down out of your feet, right down through the floor, through the concrete, through whatever building junk they've put under the floor, gravel, aggregates, or, you know, the roots just go straight through that, no problem, into the soil that is underneath whatever it is you're standing on or sitting on at the time. So your feet can instantly get down there. Sorry, not your feet, your roots can instantly get down there, send out of your feet. And then they wrap round the earth's core, and they come back up again. They wrap round your ankles so that you can move, you can do whatever you want, but no one can knock you down, no one else can move you when you're grounded. And in terms of blockages, all you're really doing there is blocking any kind of dark influences out, because they can't knock you about because you're grounded. But you know, it's quite the opposite with any of the good forces, any of the happy influences that we want to have around us when we do spiritual work. It lets them closer. Because our gatekeepers, and we've all got a gatekeeper, our gatekeeper is happier to let us really kind of go for it, really reach for the stars in terms of bringing in the information and the influences that we want to come into our life, the positive things, because we're grounded. And by doing that grounding thing every time you're about to work, and opening your crown chakra, and then closing your crown chakra when you've finished, don't unground yourself, you don't need to, but close your crown chakra, and then ground and open up again the next time you're going to work. It reduces the amount of energy that you use, it reduces the amount it takes out of you, and it lets your spirit guides know that no, we're going to work in, you know, 20 minutes, 20 hours, whatever, whenever the next reading is, that's when we're going to work again. But for now, we want to be closed down. And I've said this so many times, but I think it needs saying again. When you close your crown chakra and close down after a reading, even if you're going to do another reading in 5 minutes' time, it's a bit like putting a cloth over a crystal ball. It's a bit like putting your tarot cards away in between readings, shuffling the old energy out of them. It marks the fact that things are going to change, and it allows new energies to come in, and it allows those new energies to build up. Surprising how close to the laws of physics all this is, but you know, as etheric and ethereal as our spirit guides and the angels and the divine and God and the universe are, all those things are so out of this world. When a human being works with those energies, that human being is working with energies that have been kind of tailor-made to fit into this world. which is a circular thing because it takes us back to the whole thing. Why then do we have to ask to have sleep time? Why do we have to ask for a rest? I don't know. It's one of the first questions I'm going to ask when my time comes and I go to the other side, because I'm dying to know why that is. And again, in terms of blockages, you know, sometimes we have to block other people. I had a spiritual teacher who was very, very pushy and insistent, and kept trying to get me to do things that I didn't really want to do, that I didn't feel ready for, and that my spirit guides actually weren't all that keen on me doing. And she got very scathing when I said, no, actually, sorry, I don't want to do that. I'm being told not to do that. And I had to visualise a block around me that she couldn't get through. Craziness, really. That's what I had to do. I've had people ask for readings, so I just cannot get on with. And maybe if you do readings, maybe you've met people like this. They're people who just kind of, they won't accept what you say. And they want more and more evidence. And you think, well, why are you asking for that? If you believe in psychics and you're asking a psychic or a medium to help you, and then you don't believe they could possibly be right, what's the point, you know? What's the point? So I try and avoid people like that. I've got no ill will towards them. I just, you know, I really don't like doing that kind of reading. And in the early days, I really lost it. Someone got in touch with me, and she's actually another tarot reader and a great friend, up until that point anyway. And she'd pulled herself some tarot cards, and she asked me what do they mean, because she didn't understand it. So I told her what I was getting from my guides, and she said, yeah, but this tarot card means this, doesn't it? And I said, look, if you know the answers, why did you swear word ask me? And I just didn't know what else to say. I try to be more polite than that now. But I consciously try and block people like that, because they might not mean any harm. They might be real good people. She certainly was, this friend. But they're just going to burn up your energy for nothing, and they're showing a lot of disrespect to your guides at that point. So that's kind of blocking in the other direction. That's blocking coming from me. Number 3 kind of goes with number 2. And yes, I'm having a joke calling it the cosmic condom. It's what a friend of mine used to call it. But that's essentially what it is. And those of you who've kind of done meditation and learned meditation will almost always have been taught to visualize a protective bubble around yourself. And this blocks out negative influences. And the reason I've given it its own number is that it can block out blockages as well. Can you have that in the same sentence? I don't know. Well, I just did, so I guess, well, you must be able to, because I have. There it is. Helps you block out blockages. That protective bubble will keep away 99.9% of the energies that are going to create blockages for you. And it's a simple one, really. It's another part of opening and closing when you do readings. Ground yourself, open the crown chakra, and draw down that protective bubble around yourself. In fact, there's a lot to be said for grounding yourself, drawing down the bubble, then opening the crown chakra. That's the order I like to do it in, actually. So you send those roots right down into the earth. And then you visualize this bubble coming down around you. And one of the reasons I've naughtily called it the cosmic condom is that once you've heard that, you kind of can't forget what it's supposed to do. It makes it stick in your mind. Made it stick in my mind anyway. Don't know why, but it did. And you visualise that coming down around you. And you ask, as that bubble is coming down, that nothing can come through unless it comes in love and light and is in keeping with the work you're about to do. And you ask that the only darkness that gets anywhere near that protective bubble is only allowed around you because it's come to be healed. And it has to be genuinely ready to be healed. And that's something human beings struggle to work out, it really is. But your guides know, your angels know, they can see just by looking at it. And with practice, you can see just by looking at it. So that bubble protects you from anything dark that's intentionally dark. If it's dark and it's come to be healed, that's another matter. I'm not saying let it in, I'm just saying don't fear it, because the light will always win. And I know we've got a friend on the channel called Darkness Wins, but yeah, I respect your choice of name, my friend, but I really don't think the darkness wins. It can win in this world. It often does, but the only reason to see it like that is to make sure that we defeat it in the end, and we can defeat it in the end. Because when you think about it, there's a lot of energy behind light. How much energy is there behind darkness, really, if it's dark? I don't mean to make light of some of the troubles people have had. And I've been there, believe me, I really had the darkness knocking on my door trying to get in. It stopped me working for some time. It really did. But the light has so much more energy. And it's light enough, lightweight enough to be able to keep going. The light can do so much more than the dark. So we use the cosmic condom to make sure it's only love and light that comes in. It's a bit like when we tell people to move on from the past, you know? The past is old news. You leave the past behind and you focus only on the lessons and the love. Those are the things you want to keep from the past. Those are the things you want to hang on to going forward. Because they're light, they're of value. Darkness has no value unless you want to heal it. And the more darkness you can heal, the more of that you can pour light into, the better. The more success you have. Stuck behind an aquacruiser, but it's a beautiful day for it. You've got to realise, you know, every one of us is special. There are so many mediums, you know, so many psychics in the world. Excuse me, but there is actually a reason for every single one of us being drawn into it. Absolutely. And we have to be mindful of that. And we also have to be a little bit proud that our spirit guides have chosen to work with us. Because they choose us, not the other way around. When you first decide to buy a pack of tarot cards, or you first decide to do yoga or meditation, when you first make that decision to get involved in spiritual practices, you're actually answering a call from your subconscious mind, from the you between worlds, before you incarnated into this life. You're answering that call. It's already been set up. I bought my first tarot deck and I thought, oh great, I'm interested in this. I'm choosing to buy some tarot cards and find out all about it and read a book. Start learning, And when I look back now, it all keys into experiences I had earlier in life, and it all keys into a mission. When I look back over my life, I can see how it all keys into a mission. And I don't like to be big-headed. If you watch any of my videos before, you'll know I really don't like to get big-headed about things, because I'm a very ordinary person, really. There are so many of us who can do this work. But whoever you are, you're called to do a very, very unique version of this work. Because you're a very unique person. And it's upsetting to me how very many spiritual teachers lose sight of that and say, well, my book says this, and the Grand Wizard of Timbuktu told me to do this, so you must do it as well. It's a mistake. I mean, it's good to learn from people, and it's good to read up on stuff. Find out what those who've gone before have experienced. It sure is, but it's really important to go with the influences that you're drawn to personally. And if you kind of get a bad vibe about some of the influences that come around you, just don't bother with them. You'll always feel comfortable when you're in tune and kind of living your truth, so to speak. In terms of your spiritual mission, you will always feel comfortable with teachers who come into your life. You'll feel comfortable with people you're going to do readings for. You've got to be careful, because nerves can get in the way. You've got to be comfortable with the idea of that person, even if your heart's palpitating. If someone makes you feel seriously uncomfortable and you don't know why, but you just don't fancy reading for this person, don't read for them, friends. Find a reason, Just make an excuse if you have to, it doesn't matter. Someone will read for them, someone will be just the right reader for them. But it's sovereignty, you have sovereignty over your mission, over your ministry, and you can decide, yes, I'm going to do this reading, I'm going to do this kind of reading, I'm going to work with this kind of person, I'm not going to work with this kind of person. And I get vibes a mile off when I'm not supposed to work with anyone. I'm off the road, by the way, now. It's on the nice little leafy lane down to my house. Let's take a look at that. And it's worth throwing in right here, right now, that trees are very, very grounding and very protective. And I admit I didn't choose this house for that reason when I was looking for a place to live. No post today, hooray. Well, it is Sunday, so I suppose there wouldn't be, there you go. But no, I didn't choose this house for this reason. But this is what I mean about sovereignty. With time, I've come to realise that I need to be in a grounded, protecting sort of an environment like this to be able to do the exact sort of work that I do. And so the angels and my guides made sure I ended up here, and I'm very grateful to them. It's beautiful. And this has to do with the Merlin connection as well, by the way. Because Merlin really is the great magician who was half human and so has never really died. His body's died, but he is still very much around. And he drew me in this direction very strongly. And if Merlin thinks I should be here, who the hell is some blooming jumped up teacher or someone who's written a book, who the hell are they to tell me that I shouldn't be here? Especially when the work I do is working out. It's working out so much better since I took control, since I realised about sovereignty and got in touch with that idea. Visualization, so important to any aspect of spiritual work, actually, because as many of you will know, excuse me, if you visualize a thing and believe it's going to be that way, then so it will be. You can even say, and so it is. Tack that on to the end of your meditation. Not so it shall be, so it is. Let's the divine forces know that this is the work you're doing for them, and this is how it needs to be. If they knew all the answers, they wouldn't need to work with people. Really, they wouldn't. And that's not taking anything away from those almighty divine influences. But you're their eyes and ears in your little part of the world. So when you visualize something, you really send the message out that, you know, yep, your eyes and ears in this little part of the world are ready for this to happen and want this to happen and need this to happen. Then, so it is, really. And so, if someone's blocked you or something is blocking you and you need to get through that block for a good reason, and you visualize that block dissolving away, then it will dissolve away and you will be able to go forward. You will be able to get on with your spiritual work, with your spiritual mission. And likewise, if you need to block someone out, there's different ways of doing it. One way, should I even give this out? Well, okay, yeah, you've got to use your own judgment about this one. Something bad happened when I did this, and I'm never going to do it again. But get a photograph of the person, a picture, print out an image or something, and put it in the freezer. It just shows the intention that you're blocking them out. You don't want them coming close to you. And I'll tell you what happened when I did that. The person lost the use of both of her legs. And that's why I'll never do it again, you know. But it's that effective. It's like, you know, if someone's very abusive towards you or is threatening your life or something, then, you know, it's extreme, but that's one way to block someone out. Best way really is to just visualize like a fence around yourself. Stop driving now. Just visualize a fence around yourself, around your head. It's probably the best way to see it. And that fence just spreads out however far you need it to spread out, so that whoever it is or whatever it is, or maybe several people, maybe several influences, several things, those influences, those things, those people can't get through the block. You just visualize it like that. Okay? When I started doing that, I found that one of my spirit guides, who was wonderful, would kind of stand, excuse me, at the perimeter. And if someone was trying to get in, he'd just actually tell them to go away. Or if it was someone nice and I just couldn't handle it today, he would explain to them that, you know, Andy's very busy doing something else now, so he can't. And he was absolutely great. He really kind of policed the ring I put out. And a really good variant of that is to imagine that the outside of that ring is a mirror, okay? So that people who come with good intentions, they can't get in, but you know, whatever they're sending to you gets sent back to them. And if they've got good intentions, that's going to make them have a beautiful experience. And if they're sending negative intentions at you, then it'll mirror those back as well. And it'll be pure karma. That's simple. It'll be very fitting karma, because all you're giving them back is what they tried to give you. So that's a very fair, very balanced way blocking people and things and influences out that are threatening you. And we're back at the homestead. This is what we like. Chicken run's getting overgrown lately. Oh, the chickens are hiding from the sun, they're not about. So let's read on that then. Since we're talking about blockages and we're really talking about spiritual development, I guess, at the heart of the matter, let's use Rebecca Campbell's Work Your Light deck. I have had a quick shuffle. So card number 1, and you can pick a card, by the way. It's entirely up to you. You know what this one is now. You don't know what these ones are. Pick a card, if you will, or pick all 5. We'll do it like a 5-card reading and see how it turns out. So card number 1, trust your path, and it says, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? Now, when we're going through times of blockage in any direction, really, any of the kinds of blockage that I've talked about in this video, it really does knock our trust very often. There's usually a trust issue around it, actually. And what's going to happen as you deal with your blocks is you're going to know more and more that you will be supported. So think about, what would you actually do? What are you actually going to do with your mission? It's impossible to really know. Only our guides, only our angels actually know how we're going to come out the other end of this, where the journey is actually going. But the thing to do is enjoy the journey. And you do have a certain amount of input into that, you know. It's all very psychic. It's all stuff we signed up to before we came into this world. But somewhere deep in your mind, you know what it is you're trying to do. So focus on that. Think about, what would you actually do? And know that you will be supported. And friends, trust that path of yours. It's so important. Okay, so that's number 1. Turning over number 2, share your voice is what it says. And it says, come out of the cave, persecution and expression. And here's this character sitting here, this lady, right at the edge of a cave, looking out really at all the wonders of the universe, and some of the greatest wonders of the world as well. The Great Pyramid, for example, and just the amazing formations of rock we've got there, combined with the amazing formations of light. So it's always going to be a bit of a mystery, you know, and when we feel blocked, we shouldn't lose heart, because it is all part of the journey. It really is. Whatever happens, don't let it stop you from sharing your voice. There have been times when I've got really frustrated with being blocked, and I've just stopped sharing my voice, and I've always regretted that, really. And, you know, sometimes it's good to just shut yourself down for a little while to get over something, or for other people to get over you and fall away from your sphere of influence, as it were. But sooner or later, you've got to come out of the cave, really, okay? Because persecution and expression, they're two things that go together, really. If no one expressed anything, no one would persecute them. And the only way to really get through any kind of persecution, it's a strong word, but you know what I mean. The only way to get through any of that persecution is to actually keep on expressing yourself, and know that when you do that, you're actually in tune and in keeping with all of these amazing natural forces, which are a reflection of all the amazing spiritual forces. So, card number 2 there. What have we got for card number 3? This is going to be the heart of the matter, if you chose all 5, and it's the Pleiades. Double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. That could almost be a single mission, couldn't it? Because that is the coming together of energies and the coming together of purposes that is always so strongly involved with any kind of spiritual work we do. And here is humanity being uplifted. And maybe, friends, maybe you're one of these people who's been lifted up as well. I think you probably are, actually, because we're very privileged in the spiritual life to actually be going through that same upliftment. And part of the journey of spiritual development is learning what other people go through. So we sometimes have experiences that point us in that direction, and going through a blockage is a real big part of that, because when you think about it, it's not just in the spiritual realms of life that we get those blockages. Artists get those blockages. people doing the most basic, ordinary things get blockages. It's an absolute fact of life. And it is always slightly on the spiritual side of what they believe and what they're trying to do. So it's definitely a part of what's going on in life. It's definitely a big part of the journey. So there we go. When we think about the Pleiades, see, we're thinking about another world high up above the earth. Excuse this, I've got my shopping list on my hand from earlier. This is string and margarine are two of the things I got when I was in town just before we came on the car journey earlier in the video. So yeah, Pleiades, it's another world, you know, and we really are concerned with travelling between worlds when we're on our spiritual mission. That really very strongly is what it's all about. So moving along swiftly, because I'm about to do a live stream. Actually, it's taken me so long to edit this video because I'm learning really slowly that it's about to crash into the live stream if I'm not careful. So we'll keep moving and we'll go to card number 4. Transformation. Right, now if we see this as the heart of the matter, the middle of the reading, this is where we're going next. This is where everything that we're going through in our spiritual journey of learning is actually taking us to and pointing us towards. Transformation, and it says things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. Now, how can a block be a healing thing? Well, by being a beneficial delay. For one example, there are all kinds of different possibilities there. I'm sure there are as many possibilities as there are people watching. But transformation is the name of the game. This is what we're all about in the spiritual life and on the spiritual journey. And when it says things are changing at a cellular level, they really, really are. And if you've ever got into the violet flame of Saint Germain, well, the violet flame of manifestation, which Saint Germain is in charge of, then you will have realised how deep down this whole process goes into the cellular level. Every cell of the body is involved with this. Every cell of the mind, every cell of the soul. I don't know if the soul has cells really, but you know what I mean. Every single little aspect gets involved in this journey. So transformation is where it's at. And if you're feeling really baffled by your spiritual journey, then that is because this transformation is going on and it's taking you very magically and very surely. You will definitely get there if you keep on working at it. It's taking you to a completely new way of being, and deep healing is a big part of that. Okay, so without further ado, let's see what's number 5. And this is sort of our outcome, but as with all good outcome cards, it's pointing in a direction towards going even further on the journey. Answer the call, it says, and it asks, what is your soul calling you to do? And here is this character, sort of arms folded, sitting down. Very Native American looking character, actually. Well, other influences in there as well, most certainly. But this is the spiritual side of the human body. You know, this is what we look like when we're sitting down to meditate and when we're trying to work out what the call is. Never mind answering it. That's all a big part of what's going on. But as with all these cards, we've got the most amazing mixture of soft, gentle pastel colours here. And as hard as the spiritual journey can be, it's always taking us deeper into this kind of soft, pastely, beautiful, enjoyable, comfortable part of spiritual understanding, the spiritual understanding that is part of ourselves, you know. So it asks, what is your soul calling you to do? And dear viewer, I have no doubt that you're asking yourselves, what is your soul calling you to do? But there we are, all good stuff to contemplate, all things to think about. What really popped out there that I haven't mentioned elsewhere in the video is the violet flame of transformation and transmutation, because that is actually going to really, really help you to get through blocks and to understand what the blockage was all about as well. So I think that's my key word there. I think this is my key card here, but they're all key in one way or another. Which one did you choose, friends, or did you choose all 5? Let me know in the comments below. It's always good. It helps our spirit guides zero into each other, which is great stuff. So there you have it, friends. This brings us to the end of another amazing video that I've thoroughly enjoyed making for you. If you would like to see some pictures of what's going on in my life and stuff, don't forget to visit the channel ko-fi.com/twig. The web address is down there in the description. If you'd like a private reading, or if you'd just like to get in touch and talk, please do. My email is 35and83@gmail.com. That's 35and@gmail.com. Also, yeah, like I said a minute ago, do leave me a comment. It's great to share the journey with you guys. It's a real privilege and something I'm always excited to do. It's great running this channel, actually. I sort of wake up every day with a new sense of mission. I'm always excited to get stuck in. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you again in a future video. Love, light, blessings. Take care of yourselves, be good to each other, and peace.